Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Vieira versus Tate. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Pinhero versus Sam Hughes. So I see the matchup between Pinhero versus Hughes is I really don't rate Sam Hughes striking all that much. Pinhero striking, I think it could be we still need a bit or a good bit more to see from Pinhero. We haven't really seen her striking too much as of yet. So, it's question marks there a lot with Pinhero, but so far I'm liking her judo and liking her grappling. And going against Sam Hughes, where I feel like her only skill that kind of a little bit rateable is her wrestling. I feel like Pinhero should be able to counter her wrestling and be able to get advantage with her judo, get with her hips and with her tosses, and be able to use Hughes' momentum against her to secure position and secure takedowns. Down there on the ground, I think she's the better grappler. I think she'll be able to tap her out. So first round, probably a case of just securing position off like any little hip tosses from Hughes' takedown entries, and just like pounding on her. Then the second round, being able to capitalize and tap her out in that second round. So in this fight, I have Pinhero via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Nuerdanbieke versus Soriano. So how I see this one right here between Nuerdanbieke versus Soriano is, I feel like with this one, Soriano has already showed you who he is time and time again. Yes, Nuerdanbieke might not be the typical case of or like the poster child for who beats Soriano necessarily, but he carries a style that typically has beaten Soriano. He has not really beat. I think he knocked out Noah Lahat, but that fight never got a chance to start. He knocked him out with a flying knee. Nuerdanbieke, but yeah, where I'm trying to go with this is, Soriano has always struggled with grapplers. He returned to UFC and continued to struggle with grapplers. So it's like, if he already shown that he struggles with grapplers, what was the point of putting any confidence in Soriano? It's either going to be like a very, very low confidence for Soriano, or it's going to be a low or average confidence for Nuerdanbieke. But the biggest thing you could draw off is if somebody tells you who they are or has already shown you who they are, believe them. Like they already shown, Soriano has shown to be a guy that struggles with grapplers. Nuerdanbieke might not be your typical, as high of level as the guys that have beaten him necessarily, but it's not like he has done so great against the guys that have necessarily been these solid dudes. He's got dominated. So I can see Nuerdanbieke being able to grind out a close decision over him by taking him down and wearing him, not giving him that space. That's all I really see. I can see Soriano that's either Soriano going to eke out a decision by, or maybe potentially get a stop, but I say more so eke out a decision via striking, or he going to get grinded to a decision, or the guy gonna barely eke out a decision via wrestling. I think in the case where Nuerdanbieke not really give Soriano space to strike like he wants to, be to catch his kicks and take him down and be able to smother him and grind out a decision. I don't think it's gonna be like such a close fight. It's probably gonna be competitive, but I feel like Nuerdanbieke gonna have clear control time over him, and Soriano never really gonna be able to get off with his striking. And I see Nuerdanbieke getting the decision victory. So in this fight, I have Nuerdanbieke via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, Durden versus Aori. And how I see this one? So with this one, I feel like striking is a lean. You can lean either way. You can lean to Durden or you can lean to Aori, depending. It's like none of these guys had necessarily put themselves out there as these world-class strikers necessarily. And I'm not saying super world-class striking from either guy at this given point. I'm really not. But I do see, as far as wrestling, Aori has used a little bit of wrestling in his last fight. But I feel like looking at his fights even prior with like 2020, 2019, I see him give a lot of takedowns. I feel like Durden will be able to capitalize on, be able to secure at a higher level than the people that Aori has fought. Maybe he has worked on it, maybe he has not. Maybe it's the same, maybe it's a little bit better, but I feel like Durden should be able to score a takedown. I feel like Durden should definitely have a clear advantage in wrestling. I think striking could be a lean, but I think Durden's durable enough to take it, to take it and dish it out. And so is Aori. I think both guys are tough and they both can give it and dish it out. But yeah, with Aori on his side, I feel like Durden will have the better wrestling, will have a clear wrestling edge. I think he'll fully utilize that. I think this is a competitive, close fight. Well, I'm not gonna say close, competitive fight, but Durden able to make it, easy to score with his wrestling, be able to score takedowns, pressure, and mix of takedowns. His striking might not look all that pretty, but it will be effective enough to set up his takedowns. It'll be effective. It'll be hurting him. Maybe he'll definitely be able to hold his own with Aori on the feet, I feel. Yeah, and be able to land some effective shots. But more so, his striking is going to be a means to end so that he can get some takedowns. And I think he was able to ground out a decision over Aori. So in this fight, I have Durden via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, McKinney versus Ziam. And so I see this fight right here. So first off, Terrence McKinney came out and I like destroyed Matt Frevola in like 5 seconds. But prior to that fight, I was not super high on Terrence McKinney striking offensively or defense. I knew he had some power. I knew he was fast and explosive, but striking, I didn't really like it. It would look sketchy in a lot of ways, offensively and defensively. But he came out, got a quick stoppage. Now he's looking like, people are going to rate his striking a lot higher than it is. I'm saying all this to say all this. I'm still picking Terrence McKinney as one, but people are going to rate it so high. But guess who else came in and destroyed Matt Frevola? Came in as underdog and then just ran right through Matt Frevola. And this also was in Matt Frevola's debut. This was Marco Polo Reyes. So he came out, had a big upset over a bright prospect in Matt Frevola. This came all the way, big upset, big underdog pick. Polo Reyes came in, both of them debuting, and Polo Reyes knocked out Matt Frevola. I don't know if was he debuting. Frevola definitely was debuting. By the way, in Matt Frevola's UFC debut, he got knocked out by Polo Reyes. And Polo Reyes, at this point, now he's not in UFC, all I'm saying. So, and also what I'm saying, let's look back at last card. You can see these guys come out there and get these explosive wins. You're like, oh, I knew this. I'm so smart because I picked this guy. I picked the guy and he got supposed to win. But those things, that's not a consistent track record to pick off of explosive wins necessarily all the time and be so high and be so in love with somebody off a pick like that. Those picks aren't really consistent picks because people come out and look good one fight, especially with only 5 seconds. A lot of people could look good in 5 seconds. They land that one perfect shot, but it's hard to replicate that. As far as somebody can do that over 3 rounds, that's more impressive because that's easily more reciprocable or replicatable. But yeah, enough about that. By the way, Terrence McKinney, I'm not going to rate his striking all that high necessarily just yet. For Ziam, I would definitely say he's the better striker. Is it right now? Definitely. I think McKinney don't want to mix it up with him on the feet too much, I feel. But I feel like he at least can gain his respect with his power and his speed and explosiveness, which will allow him to get his takedown. I feel like Ziam's wrestling defense is still very questionable. And Terrence McKinney is a very underrated wrestler. He was a standout wrestler in high school. So, and that's a skill that probably his true bread and butter. But I feel like McKinney's going to be able to gain respect with his power and to be able to mix in takedowns. And I see him able to grind out a decision over Ziam. Also, I think Ziam fades as the fight goes on. I feel like McKinney will be able to get stronger. Potentially get a stoppage, but I'm going to say a decision in this one. It'll be kind of be hard to get an inside of the length of Ziam and the skills of Ziam. But eventually we get in, score some takedowns, and edge the decision. So in this one, I got Terrence McKinney. Or let me say it again. Terrence McKinney, not Tarek. So Terrence McKinney via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Loma Lookboonmee versus Lupita Godinez. And how I see this one right here, so people make some good points. Godinez went up to a higher weight class with a woman who was 4 inches taller than her and 8-inch reach, on short notice, 7 days notice. And didn't, she tried to capitalize. She tried to make a quick turnaround, had a real good performance. They tried to make a quick turnaround and double it up. But her bet did not cash, and she went all or nothing and lost that money. By the way, she still is not she's gonna lose her money for the first all those fights. She got paid for all those fights. She got a good performance, so she don't lose that. By the way, she went from having momentum. She gave up her momentum, is all I'm gonna say. But now she's back at 115, and she's fighting probably the smallest woman in the division right now. Probably the smallest person in the whole league right now in Loma Lookboonmee. Very tiny, very small. But Godinez is only 1 inch taller, and I think they have the same reach. So it's not nothing all that great. By the way, when I look at this one, Loma Lookboonmee versus Lupita Godinez, I think Godinez can very much find success with her wrestling. And I saw Sam Hughes has success. I mean, Sam Hughes actually didn't get no takedowns, but I think she was able to catch some kicks or be able to gain an advantageous position just through scrambling against Lookboonmee. And they have some control time, which I feel like Godinez can have similar. But ultimately, I feel like the momentum is not really on Godinez's side. Lookboonmee actual takedown defense has been pretty solid and getting better with every single fight. And Sam Hughes did not actually score any takedowns in that fight. She scored 0 takedowns. So I feel like Godinez is going to struggle to get those takedowns on Lookboonmee. Then I felt like on feet, Lookboonmee is just the more fleshed out striker. Godinez might be the better, have the more well-rounded skill set at this point. But I feel like Lookboonmee being a specialist and having those good hips and be able to prevent Godinez from getting underneath her. Also, Godinez won't have that leverage advantage because they're the same height. Matter of fact, Lookboonmee is 1 inch shorter than her, so it's going to be harder to get up underneath her. And I don't think Godinez is such a upper body wrestler. She's more of a lower body wrestler. So I feel like Loma Lookboonmee can be able to, the hips will be strong enough and she'll be able to keep Godinez from getting up underneath her, be able to put her in the clinch and make her pay for trying to level change in this fight. I think it'll be a very competitive fight. I do think Godinez will be able to find success with her wrestling, but not to the degree she'll need to get her hand raised. So she'll be able to get 1 takedown, but probably ending the round are not secured enough that Lookboonmee be able to pop back up to her feet and work back in the clinch. But I feel like in most cases, more so the story of this fight is going to be Loma Lookboonmee hips her clinch and her striking game and be able to mix up and pick apart Godinez on the feet and frustrate her and draw her into a firefight when her grappling not going away, her takedown not like settling in like she wants them to. And Loma Lookboonmee take advantage of that frustration and be able to beat her to a decision. So in this one, I have Loma Lookboonmee via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Rafa Garcia versus Nathan Levy. And how I see this one right here is, I'm picking Rafa Garcia flat out. I look at, Garcia disappointed me in that Matthew Semelsberger, but Chris Grudersmacher's fight. But I don't feel like he's going to necessarily disappoint me in this fight against Nathan Levy. I'm pretty average or high confidence with this one. When I look at Levy, he fought a mediocre fighter who just was a grappler, and he's just pretty much a grappler in his last fight. I mean, he was a full mixed martial artist, but I very much would rate him as a grappler. His striking can be very horrendous. Just look at what his guy against Hugo or Lugo or something Lugo. His fight right prior to coming to UFC looked beyond mediocre. Was giving up position, getting reversed by a guy who was like 5-3, was getting rocked and dropped. It looked horrendous. Then he looked good against a guy because he just fought a tall, lanky femboy who, let me stop doing that, but doing Cody, I'm going to say not Cody Garbrandt, but Kobe Covenant right there, but he fought a tall, lanky guy who had zero striking, was a grappler just like him, and it was not a wrestler. Really, he just was a better overall wrestler and grappler than that guy in every single facet. So yes, you can look good against that guy. You can get away with your sloppy striking and be able to just out-wrestle, out-maneuver a guy that you bet, this more so a specialist like you. And that's all he did. People getting high on that performance. Outside that, his competition has been bottom tier trash. Whereas Rafa Garcia has been fighting UFC caliber competition even before he got in the UFC. And when he got in UFC for some solid guys, Grudersmacher might not be all this and all that, but I would rate Grudersmacher over Levy. Matter of fact, I picked Grudersmacher to beat Levy. But yeah, anywho, I'm getting ahead of myself again with this MMA math. But either way, to flat to the point, Rafa Garcia has fought better competition. He's more proven. Levy has literally not fought anyone. Rafa Garcia actually has pretty solid wrestling, much better than anyone Levy has fought. I feel like he can test the wrestling Levy offensively and defensively, unlike anybody has fought. And it's not like Levy has, like I said, Levy has fought mediocre competition, and he has looked much less than stellar against his mediocre competition. Chin had looked very questionable. Striking defense had looked very questionable. And I feel like Garcia can definitely, like I said, test the wrestling, maybe even neutralize his wrestling to an extent. And then on feet, Garcia might not be such a polished striker, but neither is Levy. But Rafa Garcia is, I feel like, is definitely much more capable in the striking. Like as far as, I feel like he's a much more natural fighter. I don't feel like Levy's a natural fighter. He's a athlete more than a fighter. And I feel like Garcia in those striking exchanges can wear and dish it much better than Levy. Especially Levy's chin is very questionable, very glass. And I feel like Garcia can definitely take advantage of that. Address the wrestling, stuff some takedowns, give some takedowns. I mean, they're probably going to trade some takedowns back and forth. Levy probably will win the wrestling by a slim margin, maybe get one more takedown. But Garcia will be able to address it, like I said, much better than people have. And, it's constantly stay in his face, constantly pressure, and not let Levy breathe, not let Levy be able to fight a fight that he wants to fight, that ultimately be able to break him down, find that chin, wobble him, and put him out late in that second round. So in this fight, I got Rafa Garcia via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, in our prelim headliner, Tucker Lutz versus Pat Sabatini. And I see this fight between Lutz versus Sabatini is, I think Sabatini is a solid fighter and all, and I said I was going to follow this guy, and I think one of the people that subscribed to me or followed me or whatever case, tuned into one of my videos, they were like very high on Sabatini, like they said he's a friend of a friend, family friend, whatnot, and yeah, and all that stuff. But I'm going to have to lean against Sabatini again, sadly. If he proves me wrong again, he proves me wrong again. But really, I feel like he didn't really prove me all too wrong in that fight against Emers, to be honest. The fight really didn't play out too much. I mean, he finished him. It had his result. It was definitive. But he didn't show me nothing on the feet. He was getting wobbled on the feet. I don't think he really even got no takedown. Just kind of ended up in like a scramble situation. And then Emers decided to go ankle lock with ankle lock instead of just focus on defending the submission. And Sabatini was, I guess, the better ankle lock specialist, or was just the better grappler. Matter of fact, he was the better submission grappler overall. I would lean the grappling to Sabatini. I would lean the striking heavily to, like, way heavier to Emers, but it ended up in a grappling situation. Leg lock for leg lock, Sabatini was the better grappler. But if Emers would have just stuck into a striking match, I think he would have made Sabatini look like easy work. And I don't think Tucker Lutz gonna make Sabatini look like easy work at all. Sabatini like a very solid guy. I don't rate his striking very high. I a lot of nothing. But I don't, like I said, I don't rate Sabatini all that high just yet. I don't. I gotta see a lot more from him that I have not seen yet. But against Tucker Lutz is more of a wrestler, much more of a wrestler as far as his grappling base. And I don't think he's not gonna play submissions with Sabatini. He's not gonna be leg lock with him. And I don't think these same scrambling situations are necessarily gonna present themselves. Sabatini might try to create them, but like again, I don't think Tucker Lutz is gonna play that with Sabatini necessarily. And it will be better suited to defend it because he's not gonna try to grapple with him. He's not gonna I'm in a jiu-jitsu match and go into a jiu-jitsu mindset because that's not what he's on. On the feet, I feel like Tucker Lutz just got much more dog in him on the feet. And it's the much more fleshed out striker. So I feel like he, for the most part, not going to grapple with Sabatini in a jiu-jitsu fashion. Going to be able to out-wrestle Sabatini in control position, have the wrestling advantage, the takedown advantage, and then be able to out-strike Sabatini on the feet. And I think he beats him to a decision. So in this one, I have Tucker Lutz via decision. Now to our next fight. We have in our first fight on the main card, in the bantamweight division, Adrian Yanez versus Davy Grant. And how's this one? Davy Grant had looked pretty good, but I think he took a lot of damage against Marlon Vera. And even outside the damage, Davy Grant has some stuff about him. I think it could be a similar case early. He could give Yanez some problem. But I feel like Yanez will be able to catch him in these big loops he makes. Like, he comes out there with these switch stance combinations. I think he's not going to get away from what he does. But again, he can be a switch stance, be frustrating early, be active early, probably even be able to hurt Yanez early. But I think eventually once Yanez starts to find his pace, find his timing, he's going to take advantage of those, same stuff that gives Grant his success is going to be what Yanez will be able to take advantage of, like those big wide looping shots, wide looping switch stance combinations, that confuse opponents. Yanez going to be able to find those gaps and those openings over top when he's switching, or find those hooks when he's dropping one of his hands to switch stance. Almost to him, it's at this level that Yanez has, and with his eyes, with his boxing skills, he'll be able to see that big opening, that big gap, and make Grant pay for it. So when Grant's making these big transitions, these big telegraph motions, Yanez is going, like I said, make him pay, counter him, be to hurt him, drop him. Then I feel like Grant will be able to recover, but Yanez will put him right back down and finish him off in that second round. So in this fight, I have Adrian Yanez via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Joanne Calderwood, or Joanne Wood now, she got married, but I'm going to keep calling her Joanne Calderwood. Either way, she not winning this fight, in my opinion. But if she wins, but I'm feeling pretty confident in Talia Santos. I feel like Joanne Calderwood, she always kind of been an up and down fighter. Like, motivation kind of questionable. Her performance is very questionable, like up and down. And she very much can put on a good performance against Talia Santos. When Joanne Calderwood's on point, she can very much, like I said, give Santos an issue. Like, Santos trying to come in with these power shots. She can be the more technical, sharper striker. She could fight maintain a pace, and maybe Santos slows down, and then she starts to pick her apart late in the fight or something like that. But also, I feel like she won her last fight, but they gave it to Lauren Murphy. I feel like it was a very close fight, but I feel like Calderwood was the only one really landing effective striking, whereas Murphy was just looking to hug up and was not really doing nothing all that effective. But either way, the judge saw it the other way. She lost the fight. But now her getting married, name changing, and all this stuff, I don't know. I question her motivation. She's obviously in here. She obviously come back to fight, but I definitely very much question her motivation at this given point, and I question her consistency is always. So I'm going to lean to Talia Santos, who's looking good and riding good momentum, whereas Wood, whether she has won or lost that last fight, which she did lose on the judges' scorecard, she's not riding necessarily the best momentum right now, and Talia Santos is. I feel like Talia Santos is probably presenting much more power than what Calderwood has ever necessarily fought. I don't think she is one of the hardest hitters that would have for top three, if not top two. I don't think she's number one, but definitely top two or top three. So Talia Santos, I feel like pretty technical striker, a lot of power, a lot of strength. I feel like she'll be able to land the power, be able to score takedowns, and probably late, early on, probably be able to land power, be faster, be quicker, use that explosion early. Then in the later rounds, be the ice it with cage control, be to press Wood against the cage, Calderwood against the cage, maybe work for a takedown, and be able to edge out, the final round after, winning the first two rounds with her power and speed and explosion and technique early. Then when she starts to slow down, go to her reserve and just clinch and look for takedowns and just ground out that decision over Calderwood. Might give up that third round, but I definitely think she'll win 2 rounds pretty clear in this one. So in this fight, I have Talia Santos via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Ronnie Yahya versus Kyung Ho Kang. And how I see this one right here. So Yahya is one of the best grapplers in the game. Been around for a long time and doing pretty well. Has worked out striking a little bit. But I feel like at this point, Kang is the younger, bigger, stronger guy. Yahya is definitely the better technical grappler. But I think Kang is, he is skilled enough, and along with that size, and he also having a very good top game. I feel like he can neutralize a lot of the submission of Yahya and be in that position very pretty comfortably. I don't think he'll be in such a danger constantly against Yahya or so worried to take it to the ground. I feel like actually he's gonna be wanting to take it to the ground with Yahya. I mean, on the feet he might mix it up a little bit with Yahya, but I feel like ultimately he's gonna take this fight to the ground. It's gonna turn into a grappling matchup, and Young Ho K is gonna be the one better to get the takedowns with better takedown offense, better takedown defense. Get the takedowns, be able to ride that top position and control position. That's really gonna be his path to victory in this one. About overall, I feel like he's the better striker, in my opinion. Young Ho K is. I feel like he has the better takedowns. I think he will win the takedown battle. Might even probably shut down Yahya's takedowns completely. And then be able to ride that top position and neutralize most of Yahya's submission game and be able to defend all of it. And I think he beats Yahya to a decision. So in this one, I have Kyung Ho Kang via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the welterweight division, Michael Chiesa versus Sean Brady. And I see this one right here between Chiesa versus Brady. I think Chiesa kind of showed who he is in his last fight against Vicente Luque. Like, he has more opportunities, but ultimately was not able to capitalize. In the moment Luque got a submission on the neck, he tapped out. I don't know. I just did not like that performance for Chiesa. And I think Sean Brady has a pretty good, he has pretty good chokes. And I feel like that's going to be the case. He's going to choke out Chiesa. I feel like Chiesa might have some success in here. I did not like Sean Brady's striking against Jake Matthews all too much. But when he eventually got to the grappling, looked like butter. I think he's going to come in and improve. I don't feel like Chiesa necessarily going to make any improvements from the fight. I feel like he is who he is. But I feel like Chiesa might have some opportunities early. But Chiesa is a grappler, and ultimately this fight going to end up in a grappling matchup. And the moment they start grappling, I feel like Sean Brady will be able to find that neck, be able to find that little lapse in Chiesa's game, where Chiesa gives up his back. Ultimately, I feel like it's going to be a choke. I don't think it's going to be a case where he gets his back and gets a rear naked choke. I think it's going to be like a front choke. Like, they'll be scrambling. Maybe Chiesa's going to find an opportunity, going to be able to get in pretty deep on a leg or a hip. But Brady's going to be able to find that neck. They're going to get like a scramble. Then ultimately, Sean Brady's going to be able to find that lapse in Chiesa's game, or whether Chiesa just takes a step out mentally for a second, which he does in fights. And ultimately, that ends up with him losing sometimes. A lot of time, matter of fact, all his fights against Kevin Lee, against Vicente Luque, against Jorge Masvidal. Every single time he has like these mental lapses out there. And I think Sean Brady's gonna be sharper in these grappling exchanges and not stay sharp, stay sharp, and Chiesa's gonna dip off. And whether he's sharp or not, Sean Brady I feel like gonna be the one better to take advantage of this, the grappling exchanges, the scrambles with Chiesa, and eventually be able to find that neck. I think it's in the second round. He taps out Chiesa probably with a Darce or guillotine. So in this one, I have Sean Brady via second round submission. Now to our main event, we have in the women's bantamweight division, Caitlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate. And I see this one right here between Caitlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate. And I say we have in our main event, but yeah. Main event, Caitlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate in the bantamweight division. Vieira versus Tate. How I see this fight is Caitlin Vieira, I'll definitely not see her as such a technical fighter. She's big, she swings, she's strong, and that's her thing. She's strong, got some decent takedown defense, decent takedown offense. She's big, not such a technical striker, not such a technical grappler or anything. But that's gonna be a problem for a lot of women. Like, she can out-muscle, can stay in your face and just dominate you. But I feel like against Miesha Tate will have definitely be the much more technical wrestler. I feel like Miesha Tate could push a better pace, much more experience. I feel like the better cardio, but I said that's pacing again. Striking, I feel like Miesha Tate's the more technical striker. I do worry about Caitlin Vieira early, maybe being able to push Tate to maybe being able to stop Tate early. I worry about that, but ultimately I feel like Tate should be able to weather and wear her out and beat her to a decision, or eventually get a TKO or stop it. But I'm gonna say decision with this one. I feel like Vieira will have a strong start potentially, but Miesha Tate will be able to use her wrestling to slow her down, use her movement, be able to land counters, keep Vieira honest so she can't just have a clear floor to just wild out on Vieira. I mean, wild out on Tate, I don't think. And I think, like I said, eventually be able to get Vieira past these early rounds, then be able to drown her late is what I'm going to see. I think, like I said, I'm not high on Vieira's technique, not high on her skills, not high on her fight IQ. She definitely has some questionable performances here and there. But I think Tate's back. She's reinvigorated, motivated. I like what I saw from her, even though her opponent wasn't necessarily the greatest fighter and necessarily was really a spoon-fed stylistic matchup for her. I think Vieira's style is going to play against herself in this one. And I feel like Tate's going to be able to use her experience to ground out a decision over Vieira. Like Vieira looking somewhat decent early. Whether it be competitive or Vieira's rounds early, I feel like Tate will be able to dominate late. Like I said, Vieira's going to slow down, in my opinion. It has a track record of slowing down from what I've seen. And I feel like Tate's going to be able to use that experience, push that pace, and drown her late. So I've already said it like 5 times, but that's my prediction. Miesha Tate to extend Vieira and then drown her late and beat her to a decision. So in this one, I have Miesha Tate via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the 4 card fights for UFC Fight Night, Vieira versus Tate. And as always, thanks for watching. Welcome.